What's up, brothers? Today we're going to be, I guess, doing a follow-up video on the ADC lane phase tier list, and now we're doing an ADC mid-game tier list. So you guys know the whole song and dance by now. These edited videos don't do as well. By leaving a like, you let me know that you want to see more. I honestly have more fun doing edited videos. I feel like they don't just get more likes and comments because you guys wanted to do better in the algorithm, but because, that's obviously part of it because I ask at the start and I don't always ask. But you guys do go out of your way to leave a like and comment on all of these pretty much. They're all insane, and I think that's because you guys want to see more edited content. You guys probably think it's better too. Okay, but yeah, that whole song and dance out of the way, please leave a like. Let's just get into it. I don't know. Okay, so we'll do this just, it's only based on the AD carries, right? So Caitlyn mid-game is absolutely horrendous, and even in terms of AD carries, because her range all of a sudden doesn't mean that much because she's not poking down people. She's not the best at taking objectives. She doesn't have an attack speed steroid. There's nothing. She has good wave clear, but that's about it at this point in the game. She probably accumulated some gold from lane, but even with that advantage, Caitlyn's still not the best mid-game AD carry. In fact, I think one of Caitlyn's biggest downfalls just as a champion period is how horrendous her mid-game is. What you want to be doing is Caitlyn is really formulating a lead in lane and then trying to carry it over to other lanes with your support, because this champion cannot act by herself, especially mid-game. I mean, that one was really easy. What are some other? I mean, this one is... Ezreal's just going to stay at the top. The entire reason you pick Ezreal is because you want to live lane or just neutralize lane, and then just be an absolute mid-game powerhouse. That's the entire reason you want to be picking Ezreal. This champion is absurd mid-game, even by other champion standards. It's not just ADC standards. He's a mid-game god. He's a mid-game god, period. What are some other easier ones? I think Twitch might be about average or strong. I'm gonna put him in about average. Twitch is really mid-game. His mid-game is really reliant on picking up waves, and then in between waves, when you're picking it up against an enemy ADC, is going in stealth and then solo killing them. That's how you usually want to be playing Twitch. So since he's, solo killing other ADCs, I have to put him like at least about average. But an argument could honestly be made for strong. But in all honesty, if you're dying to Twitch, you made the mistake. Like in mid-game, at least. He was the champion goes invisible all the time. You got to know that, and you got to play around that. You could probably solo kill him as other ADCs, but yeah, Twitch, I'm gonna put him about average. I don't think he has he doesn't have an interaction with crit really that makes him, he doesn't really have an interaction with crit or items that he loves. It's more just, okay, so I think I'm gonna wait on Kaisa. She could be a mid-game god or strong. But I'll wait on that. This is actually a little hard because it's hard to not consider lane phase. Like late game, I'm assuming everyone's full items or close to full items. Mid game, what happened in lane, Lane's the first 15 minutes of the game. Mid game's like the next 15 minutes of the game. Like 50, I'd say it's actually like 15 to 25 minutes is mid game, but I don't know. This is a little hard, actually. I think I can safely put Draven in strong. He may move up later the more we fill this out. It's hard, once again, it's still hard not to consider what happens in lane, but assuming that nothing went terribly wrong in lane, Draven should probably have a CS advantage, probably has at least 1 or 2 platings, and probably has a kill or 2, or hopefully would have a kill or 2 under his belt. He's pretty strong. I don't need to explain that. He'll, like I said, how you could probably solo Twitch as AD carries, Draven could solo Twitch even if Twitch sneaks up on him. He's not very reliant on a support, so the support can go help others. He can be at objectives. He's a strong objective fighter. He doesn't have any particular interaction with crit because his axes aren't actually that good with crit. Dude, this is hard. I think Vayne, it depends. Once again, it still depends on the game. I honestly think Vayne is pretty strong mid-game, mostly because she has, right now, her build usually consists of just straight up getting like 3 attack speed items, Zerkers, Kraken, and PD or Bork, just immediately, right? You have a lot of attack speed once you hit that 2-3 item power spike. The thing is, when lane phase ends, you usually only have about 1.5. Maybe you have 2 if you're counting Zerkers, but if you have Zerkers, Kraken, you probably aren't. You haven't probably even started building Bork or PD 15 minutes in the game, unless you're really fed, and by that point, the game should probably be over because you're on Vayne. But just considering everything, she doesn't siege very well. She doesn't defend towers really well, but she's by far the best side lane AD carry. Mid game is around the time where you want to be side laning. Late game, it's really scary because you are your team's carry at that point. So if you die, it's a really big loss. Whereas if you die mid game, oh well, I'm gonna put her in about average. An argument could be made for strong though. I think another one I can just put in the strong tier is Lucian. Lucian can solo kill mid laners. I mean, Draven could probably too though, but Draven doesn't have wave clear like Lucian does. When you think about mid game, you're mostly just trying to keep or at least in my experience, you're mostly just trying to keep priority in lanes so that whenever you rotate to dragon or something, you're not losing as much farm. It also takes into account how well you're picking up farm. Like Lucian farms camps way better than Draven does, you know? I think Lucian's just better at picking up farm and stuff, period. I think Lucian's stronger than Draven mid game, honestly. In terms of overall champion, if they were to fight 1v1, I think Draven wins, but my reasons for putting Lucian in the top tier with Ezreal, he's a really strong fighter still at 1 to 3 items. He's still really strong. His second item right now is almost always Essence Reaver, and that is a really low cost item, and it's the same with Ezreal. Ezreal's also building ER, and so is Draven, but it's those low cost items that get you your spike quicker, like 600 gold quicker. That's 2 kills. You're hitting that spike way quicker, way more consistently on these champions, and on top of that, they don't have special interactions with crit that they rely on like a lot of these other champions do. I think one that I can put into the strong tier is Ashe. I think Ashe brings a lot of pick potential. She also has poke. She has good vision for her team. At this point, if you're not carrying a game, then you need to be either clearing waves or supporting your team, and Ashe can clear waves and support her team. That's 2 out of the 3 qualities, which we really like. So I think putting Ashe in the strong tier is very, you know, making picks with her ultimate is a really big thing. Ashe, once again, I've said this in almost every single Ashe video, you're kind of on a timer with this champion. If the enemy team isn't composed of like 4 tanks, your champion's not going to be useful in terms of damage output, at least. Good wave clear, good utility, good pick potential, and not really that bad at fighting either. I'm going to put Ashe in strong. So I think by the time you're hitting your item spike as Aphelios, it's about 25 minutes into the game, which is pretty much the end of mid game, or at least what I think is the end. But I could obviously, there's still an argument to be made that only past 30 minutes is mid game, or late game. I mean, see, once again, it's dependent on his weapons. He has Infernum to clear wave. He has Graviton to assist his team. He has Severum. I don't know what to put with Aphelios. I don't think he's as strong as Twitch and Vayne, but I don't think he's as bad as Caitlyn, so I'm just gonna hold off on this. I think Kalista could probably be made as an argument for strong. Once again, with you're gonna see this in this list eventually. Kalista does not need crit to succeed, so therefore she's gonna be really good mid game. She's grouping with her teammates more. Ideally, if you pick Kalista in the right situation, you're gonna be getting plasma more often. She doesn't have half-path with wave clear. She's hitting her evolve power spikes at this point. She builds PD. She's hitting it at like 22 minutes into the game. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think I need to elaborate this one that much because everyone's been seeing Kalista recently. But yeah, the champion's strong 1v1. The champion is solid in team fights because she's hitting her spike. Once again, she's hitting it earlier because she doesn't rely on crit heavily and because she's evolving her abilities. So I think I'm also going to put Jhin in the strong tier, or you could even make an argument for mid-game god. Jhin brings a lot of the same stuff as that Ashe does, but Jin's also better at squishies, and I wouldn't say he has as much utility as Ashe. I think his utility is also harder to use, but he has a lot more damage than Ashe, especially against non-tanks, which honestly, non-tanks, hitting them matters more than hitting the tanks, so that's probably why I value Jhin a little bit more. Good playmaking potential. Jin's wave clear is really underrated. It can feel bad sometimes, but most of the time it's just fine. So one thing that, I don't know, this might be contradictory, or how do you pronounce that word? Contradictory? But like, what? Okay, I know it's contradict, but like, what's the contradictory? Is that a word? It is a word. How do you contradictory? I've never used this fucking word. This might be to what I said earlier, but I think Sivir is about average for mid game. This might sound stupid, but where Jhin and Ashe somewhat rely on their teammates with their utility to make plays, Sivir 100% does. It's hard for her to get a solo kill because she doesn't have upfront CC like these two. Her teammate is a buff to her allies, not a stun or a root to her enemies. But she does have the best wave clear out of any ADC, so you can plop her mid, she'll be just fine. But Sivir will definitely she'll just kill minion waves. Like, she's just a minion wave killer at this point in the game. She's not really doing all that much unless her lane phase went really well, in which case she's probably in like the strong category or the mid game god, honestly. If Sivir's fed, but if any of these champions are fed, they're a mid-game god. If Caitlyn has 4 items, like 25 minutes into the game, she's a mid-game god, you know what I'm saying? But on a game-to-game basis, Sivir is probably about average. I think Senna also is just about average. She hasn't hit any crazy power spike yet. Maybe Kraken Gwynsus comes in at the latter half of mid-game, but She's still also relying on her teammates a lot. Her wave clear doesn't, it's not fast, you know? Sivir QWs a wave, does 3 auto attacks, the wave's dead. Senna has to do multiple auto attacks, which take longer than Sivir's, and she has to Q the wave, but she has a lot more, I would say that Senna's utility is better than Sivir's utility. Senna has an ultimate that shields and damages in the global, and her E and her root. I would just, yeah. This might be a little silly, but I think Xayah might be strong or about average mid-game. I'm not too sure. See, I'm goated at the champ. The issue is, I understand that I'm fucking cracked at these 3, and I used to be cracked at Senna, but I understand that I'm cracked at these 3, so I have bias towards thinking how strong they are, whereas I'm like average or bad with most of these. But I don't know. In my experience, Xayah is pretty strong mid-game. Strong wave clear, solid utility, hard to dive. She has a little bit of an issue making plays, but you can use like macro to actually do stuff. And her dragon fights and her baron fights are also really well because she can turn a fight pretty quickly if she has good feather setups and she walks perfectly and everything. You know, I think Xayah's strong, but probably on the latter half of strong, and I might be biased towards it. Let me know what you guys think of Xayah in the comments for her mid game. I think it's strong. I really do. I see these champions, and I don't think they're as strong as Xayah mid game. Another champ I'm kind of teetering on. It depends on what build you're going, but I'm just going to put Varus in the strong tier. Pretty much same reasons as Ashe. Varus and Ashe are really similar. Varus is just more flexible, I'd say. But yeah, Varus and Ashe are here for pretty much the exact same reasons. I think I like Ashe more, though. This is hard to rate. Kog'Maw becomes harder to punish for using his W once you hit mid-game. It's on a shorter cooldown. He's under tower more often. You don't have your support with you all the time, so they can't go in when he Ws. I think Kog'Maw's probably about average. He just can't be left alone, unfortunately. Him and Senna are kind of similar. They'll be useful if they're not by themselves, but if they're by themselves, they're cucked. All right, well, filling this out more, I'm finally going to come to a decision. I think I'm going to put Aphelios in the bad tier, but like just above Caitlyn. Once again, I've said this. I'm absolute dog. Like, comparatively, in terms of, like, my own skill, I'm the worst at Kalista and Aphelios, so maybe I don't have, like, the least biased data. Maybe I'm terrible at the champion. The guns that you need, it can be hard to kind of, like, always have the gun that you need in the right situation. And honestly, I think objectively, he's probably about average if you're playing him optimally. But for 99.9% of the player base, he's just bad mid-game. Let's just be honest. I think Jinx is probably about average. This is going to sound stupid, but she's literally an easier Aphelios. When Aphelios came out and when he was absolutely batshit broken, there was no reason to be picking Jinx. They fill very, very similar roles. But Jinx doesn't have as much utility. She also doesn't have as much damage at this point in the game. Honestly, an argument could be made for putting her in bad. Honestly, an argument could be made for swapping her and Aphelios, just straight up. But I think Jinx, especially right now in the current meta, is pretty, like, okay mid-game. There's still that potential of, like, you know, once again, we're focusing on like clearing waves and then utility and then how she fights, especially in the Dragon and Baron. Jinx is pretty solid at that stuff, especially mid-game unless you're really fed. I've seen this a lot. You're not going to be the target of everyone. Sometimes your own jungler is going to be the target. Your mid laner is going to be the target. Hell, even sometimes your top laner, they're like hard focusing them because it's like an Irelia that's jumping in or something. But a lot of the times you're not being focused. So you can just pop off with like Lethal Tempo or Conqueror and then you get excited and then maybe you have an Enchanter. Yeah, it's hard to not consider outside factors, especially for mid-game. This one probably could be argued for putting Jinx in bad, but I'm going to place her in about average. I think Tristana is too exploitable mid-game. You're starting to group. You don't have draw a bead range. So Tristana really likes levels because of her passive. You don't have enough levels to safely auto-attack a lot of the time, but you're Tristana. You probably one lane. You probably have a solid amount of gold, if not from CS, then from getting tower plates and stuff. So you probably have a decent lead, but that lead can go away really quickly because there's a lot of counters to her mid-game, especially in team fights and stuff. A lot of stuff that can cancel her jump, a lot of champs that don't care about her ult. Yeah. And she can't auto attack safely at this point, so I'm gonna put her in about average. I don't know. I think she's worse than Twitch and Sivir, or Twitch and Vayne. I think she's probably better than Sivir. But dude, I'm adding another row. This is like, I think these champs belong here. We didn't do this in the last video because it just didn't feel right, but I think this feels right. These champs just aren't bringing enough to the table at this point. I think Samira, I don't know. I actually don't know. I think Samira is probably in strong. I think she's probably in strong. I think Samira, this is probably an unpopular opinion. Her curve of strength, right now at least, in my opinion, is like kind of bad, levels 1 through 5. And then she hits 6, and then she gets to abuse the fact that her ultimate's on an 8-second cooldown. But her ultimate is still really weak because it's level 1. But once she hits level 2 ult, maybe has like her second item with Collector, she's definitely like strong. But you just have to get to that point of being level 11, which happens around like 22, 25 minutes into the game, like between that point. Yeah, I'm gonna put Samira in strong. She can just absolutely clean fights, straight up. She can just Baron and Dragon fights. Listen, you might not get focused as some of these champs in fights, but you'll get focused as Samira because that champ's gonna kill everyone if left uncc'd. I'm not really proud of this list. Like the ADC, let me, when I was like in the lane phase tier list, dude, I felt like I was spitting just facts, just absolute hard, undisputable facts. But now with this video, I don't feel like I'm doing that. This was also probably before Samira got nerfed. So, you know, like this is facts. This is just straight up facts. I think Ashe might be in strong. Oh wait, didn't I say that? Yeah. I don't know. With this one, I'm kind of having a hard time. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I honestly think that this one is not as set in stone as this one. I think this one is like really close to just being perfect. Kalista mid-game kind of struggles from the same issues that some of these champs do, but she's definitely stronger than these champs. So I'm going to put her in about average. I think she has strong tools. She has like a nerfed hawk shot, let's be honest. Sentinel is really not a good ability. She has more damage than these champs at this point, and she has her ultimate, which can help your team a lot. So I'm gonna put her in about average. Plus she's harder to kill than these champs. Yeah, I think she's about average. I really don't think she's strong though. I think the champion just has too many issues. Okay, last one's Misfortune. I think she's probably strong. I don't know. The thing is, she's immobile. She doesn't have the best wave clear, but it's still solid wave clear, you know? It's not the worst. She's immobile, doesn't really have a lot of crowd control, but she's not completely reliant on crit. And if your teammates get a good engage, you can just press R and delete an entire fight. Plus, with Gale Force, you can get solo kills and stuff. I don't think she's better than Twitch, though. This list feels so cat, bro. This list does not feel as good as the other one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I think I should put Aphelios in kinda bad, now that this is here. I'm just not satisfied with this at all. Like, I think this is trash. F it, dude. I think Misfortune is probably strong. She still has really good damage for this point in the game. She can get fed off using good ults. She doesn't farm safe though, and she doesn't have good wave clear, and she doesn't have good utility. Like, bro, I think she's worse than Twitch. I'm mid-game at least. I'm gonna be honest. She requires too much setup. But then, like, why are you picking Misfortune if you don't have setup? I'm done. Dude, I'm done. I can't do this. This one's hard. And part of me, like, if we're building, like, Kraken and stuff, like, no CDR on Varus, he's about average. There's just too many factors to consider at this point in the game. Because it's too up for debate what the F happened in lane, how much farm you got, how much your support roamed, how much your support stayed in lane, how many jungle ganks you got. I don't know. This one's hard. This one's really hard. I think I'm done, dude. This one's hard. I'm thinking about putting Draven in mid-game god because he should have an accumulated lead by then, but in most of my games, Draven's lead isn't that substantial from lane to mid-game. He's not really carrying these lobbies, maybe just because I'm fucking built different and I don't feed in lane, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm done, dude. I can't justify putting these characters like one or two down or two up, you know, like two changes, you know? This one's a lot harder. I'm probably gonna do the late game one just because, well, it's ADC, so most people will be interested in that one. And on top of that, yeah, this one just don't feel right, man. This one just feels a little odd. I hope you guys enjoyed it still, nevertheless. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. We have to come out with the new outro. I think saying wear a mask was lit, but I think saying wear a mask if you have to is kind of lame. So I'm gonna need some new outro ideas, but stay safe, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.